Welcome to the shop safety portion of our presentation. Before we get into the meat of this subject, I'd like to take a moment to discuss something with you. Now, our mini machines have the potential to help us create all sorts of fun, useful, and even profitable things. Unfortunately, like any other power tool, they also carry the potential for great bodily harm. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but I'm saying this as a serious reminder. There are seldom second chances in life, and a mistake can be very costly. During this series of presentations, we're going to be discussing and demonstrating various techniques and methods of metalworking. Now, we'll try and present this in the absolute safest manner possible, but the ultimate responsibility for your safety rests with you. There is no way we can cover everything that could possibly go wrong, or foresee every way this material could be misused. So, your best protection is safety first thinking. This means keeping a sound mind, using good common sense, and getting all the instruction that you can. Now, video demonstrations like these, while excellent sources of instruction, are no substitute for hands-on training. Community and vocational colleges and even some local high schools offer courses taught by experts in the field. These are men and women who know how to do things correctly. Usually, these courses are inexpensive and often have very flexible class times. So if you're fortunate enough to have such a class near you, by all means, take advantage of it. Another great resource for instruction is local machinist clubs. They exist everywhere and again are a great source of experience and instruction. Plus, when you share a hobby with others, it makes it even more fun and rewarding. There are clubs that specialize in just about anything you could possibly be interested in. Miniature railroading, steam engines, aircrafts, gunsmithing, clockmaking, the list is endless. So why not benefit from the experience of old-timers in your area? The clubs are easy to find, either in machinist-oriented magazines or even look on the internet. And don't forget your local library. Now, there are an abundance of books on subjects pertaining to metalworking just waiting to be opened. Good instruction is priceless. Grab all that you can. Having said that, let's get started with some general safety guidelines. First off, we'll say that you must have a clear mind. Now, by a clear mind, we mean a mind that is not compromised by fatigue, illness, medications, alcohol, or heaven forbid, narcotics. Any of these will slow your reaction time and cloud your judgment, and that could end up costing you. So stay clear-headed. Anything that takes your mind off of what you're involved in is potentially dangerous. TV, visitors, even pets can distract you if you're machining, so use caution. Once as a youth working in a small machine shop, I let myself get distracted. My boss was working on a machine in front of me and he was ranting on about something. I got distracted, left the key in the chuck, and I fired up the lathe. Now that key weighed around 3 to 4 pounds. It was a very large LeBlanc lathe. It shot out of that lathe like a bullet. It just went right over my boss's head and demolished an 8-foot lighting fixture. It rained glass and metal debris down on him. Now a slight difference in where that chuck was lined up, and that key would have got him instead. I still get chills when I think about that one. Like I mentioned before, you seldom get second chances. That time I did. I was fortunate, as was my boss. So if you're angry, you're upset, you're distracted, don't run your power equipment until you've gotten yourself settled down. Do something else for a bit. Clean up your area, sort some hardware, review plans, anything, but settle down first. The next guideline is the floor in your work area must be clear. Imagine stepping back and having your foot turn under you because you stepped on a tool or a piece of stock. You could be windmilling your arms around, trying to catch your balance, and think how easy it would be to end up sticking your hand or arm or even worse into a running machine at that point. Keep your work area clear. It takes just a few minutes to do, but it'll pay off in the long run. Our next guideline deals with electricity. Now, this is a multiple hazard. There's the obvious shock hazard, of course, if your machine isn't properly grounded, if the wires are exposed, if you're standing in wet conditions, or the like. But there's also a fire hazard potential. So remember, circuit breakers and ground fault interrupters are great safety devices, but you can't count on them to always work. Make sure the circuit you're using is capable of supporting the load you're putting on it, and that your machines are properly isolated and grounded. Now, if you're in doubt, talk to a qualified electrician. I know they charge more than brain surgeons do, but consider it an investment in the future. Money's not going to help you if you're not alive to spend it. Safety equipment is our next concern, and this covers a wide range of things. For instance, you should have several fire extinguishers ready to hand. One should be near your work area and one at each doorway. If you have a charged extinguisher close to hand where you know exactly where to find it in a flash, that could save your life, as well as your property. Now, it's easy to buy good quality extinguishers nowadays at discount prices. Most big home improvement chains carry home shop size units. So make sure that you invest in at least a couple, along with some smoke alarms. Safety shields or guards on any machinery should be in place, properly adjusted, and in good working order. They're there for a reason. If you leave them off, that's a very bad idea. So unless you're not fond of your eyes or extremities, keep the guards in place. Now, when you have to take the guards off, for repairs, maintenance, or the like, then make sure the machine is disconnected from its power source and not just turned off. And please make sure that no one can accidentally reconnect that power while you're working on your machine. Safety equipment also means proper eye and hearing protection. Fortunately, our mini machines don't usually produce tremendous amounts of noise, but it's still a good idea to have a simple hearing protector handy if things do get a little loud. And safety glasses are an absolute must. Why would you lose an eye when it's so easy to prevent that? If you hate how they look, go buy some designer ones. They have them nowadays. But whatever you do, buy them, wear them. Our next rule is one that's very easily overlooked. Don't wear anything that can get caught in a machine. Now, this means loose clothes, rings, watches, necklaces, disco pendants, wrapper jewelry, even eyeglass lanyards. Anything that can get caught in a moving machine will get spooled up and pull you in faster than you can imagine. Even delicate chains and the like, which you might think might just break and release you, they can pull you off balance, send you face first into your machine, or they could whip around like a metal weed eater. The same thing with long hair and beards. These have to be restrained to keep them out of the machines. Please be cautious. Now, we've discussed shop safety in general. Let's talk about some things specifically related to our mini mills and our mini lathes. First off, know how to shut off your machine in an emergency. Make sure you're so familiar with that switch that you can get to it instantly, just a reflex action. Now, you heard me mention the mistake I made with the chuck key before. Well, that's our next concern. A chuck key can instantly become a lethal projectile if it's left in the chuck. Try to think of the tool as an extension of your hand. When your hand leaves the chuck, the tool comes with it. If you develop this habit, it could save a life. The same thing applies to Tommy bars, like the ones we use to lock our mill spindle. If you fire up your mill with a Tommy bar in place, at the very least you're going to be repairing your mill. So get in the habit of keeping the tools in your hands until they're off the machine. Now, there's something we get to do with our little machines that can't always be done with the bigger ones. We can spin them by hand. This is a great way to check that all is well before we start machining. If you spin your lathe before you begin, you'll have a better chance of discovering problems like the carriage being too close to the chuck, or even the key being left in the chuck. Spinning the mill spindle will assure you that the Tommy bar is out of the mill head and that there's clearance for whatever you want to do. This is a really good habit to learn. Our mini machines are usually equipped with a main power switch and a secondary. Make sure they're both off until you're ready to begin machining, and make sure the RPM is dialed to its lowest setting before activating the main and secondary switches. After that, go ahead and select your RPM. If you do it that way, it should help you avoid any nasty surprises. When your machine fires up slowly, you have a much better chance of catching a mistake before it becomes too costly. Now, we could go on all day, but I hope you're getting the idea. It would be impossible to cover everything that you need to know, but it's just as impossible for you to be too safe. So keep your eyes open, use good common sense, get as much instruction as you can, and keep practicing that safety-first mindset. It'll pay off in big dividends. Besides, I found it to be a more enlightened way of thinking for the most part. I hope you agree.